Hey there. So, let's talk about Hong Kong, a city that has seen some massive changes over the past few years. Remember the bustling streets filled with protesters in 2019? It seemed like the entire city was out, waving banners and chanting for democracy. It was a scene straight out of a movie. 1 to 2 million people protesting in a city of about 7 million. But fast forward to today, and things look quite different. What happened to those protests? Where are all those people now? And more importantly, what does this mean for the future of Hong Kong? Let's rewind a bit. For years, Hong Kong was a shining example of how Western values and capitalism could coexist with China's vast economic reforms. It was this unique blend that made Hong Kong an international financial hub and one of the world's freest economies. The rule of law, a free press, and a currency pegged to the US dollar all contributed to its success. It was the gateway to China's incredible industrial boom. But beneath this prosperity, there was simmering tension. Beijing and Hong Kong's political opposition were like oil and water. The opposition wanted to expand civil liberties and move towards greater democracy, while Beijing was resistant to these changes. This tension came to a head in 2019 when Hong Kong proposed a bill that would allow people to be extradited to mainland China for trial. Many saw this as a dangerous move that could be used to stifle political dissent. The protests began peacefully. People took to the streets to voice their opposition to the bill. But as the government refused to fully withdraw it, the demonstrations grew more intense. The demands of the protesters also evolved. It wasn't just about stopping the bill anymore. They wanted amnesty for arrested protesters and universal suffrage. The city's streets turned into battlegrounds with clashes between protesters and the police. The world watched as Hong Kong fought for its freedoms. Then came 2020, and with it, the COVID-19 pandemic. The government rolled out strict control measures, making it almost impossible for large groups to gather. This effectively put a lid on the protests, but the most significant blow came when Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law. This law, which targets secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion with foreign forces, gave Beijing broad powers to crack down on dissent. Overnight, the political landscape of Hong Kong changed. Prominent activists were arrested, opposition parties were effectively silenced, and pro-democracy media outlets like Jimmy Lay's Apple Daily were shut down. For many Hong Kongers, this was too much to bear. People like Jarida and her husband decided to leave the city. They moved to the UK, joining over 140,000 Hong Kongers who emigrated after the UK introduced a special visa scheme in 2021. Jarida's story is one of many. She speaks of friends in the creative industry, actors, visual artists, who were arrested or charged. She felt scared, saying the city was trying to expel its own people. Meanwhile, Beijing was busy restructuring Hong Kong's political system. The body that picks members of Hong Kong's Legislative Council was revamped to ensure only pro-China candidates could secure a seat. This meant that the city's government no longer had any real opposition. In March this year, Hong Kong introduced its own security legislation with new crimes like treason and insurrection carrying life sentences. The message was clear: dissent would not be tolerated. But Beijing's plan for Hong Kong wasn't just about political control. It was also about economic and social integration. The Greater Bay Area Development Project is a prime example of this strategy. Launched by President Xi Jinping in 2017, this project aims to integrate Hong Kong with nearby cities like Macau and Shenzhen. Expanded infrastructure like the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and the West Kowloon Station makes it easier for people to move between these cities. Trips to mainland China have hit record highs, and many Hong Kongers are now working, studying, and living there. Apps like WeChat and Alipay have made transactions on the mainland seamless for Hong Kongers. Platforms like Dianping and Xiaohongshu help them navigate mainland cities. For people like Kaka, a 26-year-old who took a job in Shenzhen after finishing her master's, this integration means new opportunities. She's even started her own business on the mainland. It's a new world for many Hong Kongers, and they're finding ways to adapt and thrive. However, this integration has changed how people view Hong Kong. The city was once seen as a distinct entity within China, with its own set of rules and freedoms. But with the crackdown on political dissent, many now see it as just another Chinese city. This shift in perception is significant, especially in the context of geopolitical tensions. and an economic slowdown on the mainland. Foreign direct investment in China has plummeted to levels not seen since the early 1990s, partly due to trade frictions with the US and its allies. Hong Kong's unique position as a financial hub is under threat. Look at the numbers and you'll see the impact. The proceeds raised by companies through IPOs in Hong Kong are at their lowest in more than 2 decades. The city also lost its title as the world's freest economy. For Beijing, Hong Kong is still crucial. It allows Chinese companies to raise money without the tight capital controls imposed on the mainland. Hong Kong has some of the deepest capital markets in Asia. But the big question is, will Beijing still get what it needs from Hong Kong if its unique differences are no longer seen as valuable, especially by foreign investors? Despite these challenges, some remain optimistic about Hong Kong's future. Hong Kong's chief executive John Lee claims that the city's status as a financial center is highly stable, with 75% of the world's top banks operating there. There's hope that Hong Kong can still play a crucial role on the global stage, but for many, like Jarita, leaving the city was the only answer. She felt that staying might have given her a good career, but she didn't want to change herself to fit the new Hong Kong. She couldn't see a future she liked in the city anymore. So what does all this mean? Hong Kong is in the midst of a significant transformation. The changes are reshaping the city's identity and its role in the world. It's a complex and ongoing story, one that raises many questions about the future. Will Hong Kong maintain its position as an international financial hub? How will its integration with mainland China evolve? And what will happen to the spirit of its people, those who once took to the streets demanding freedom and democracy? It's a narrative filled with uncertainty, hope, and resilience. The story of Hong Kong is far from over, and the world is watching closely. Let's stay tuned and see how this city, with its rich history and dynamic spirit, navigates the challenges ahead.